A lot of you will tell me, oh, I can't go hunt elk. I don't know how to draw tag. It's so complicated. I don't have the money. It's whatever. I'm going to show you, just like we said in a podcast that we did on our Hunt Talk Radio podcast, that you should hunt elk every year. There's enough opportunity that there's no reason, if you're committed to elk hunting, that you shouldn't be out chasing elk every fall. And I'm going to walk you through how I go about it and how I think you should go about it. And I'm going to do it under the premise that you have a $1,000 budget for your elk tag and license and building points. However extravagant or sparse you want to make the rest of your hunt, that's up to you. But I want to show you how you can do this tag part for a pretty reasonable budget and how you can get the most of your money while you're doing it. So you're going to see the very first thing I do is I pull up the Insider Base Camp. And it gives you the rules and regulations by every state. When you do this, I suggest you have a short-term plan that is your fallback if your long-term plan doesn't come true that year. So I'm going to start with the long-term plan. The long-term plan to me is building points in some of these states at the lowest cost possible. And when I say points, we did a video about the difference between bonus point systems and preference point system. If you go out to our YouTube channel, you'll see that there's a big explanation there. But some states require that you buy your points or buy a non-refundable hunting license to even build points. So those states that require that, for right now, I'm going to cross them off the list for this discussion. And that leads us to one state with a point system where you don't have to buy a license, and another state that doesn't even have a point system, New Mexico. So I'm going to start with Wyoming. Wyoming does not require you to invest in a $150, $160 non-refundable license just to build points. All Wyoming requires that you do is apply and check the box that says I want to be in the point system. And you pay an extra. This year it was $50. In 2018, I believe the legislature has a bill that might raise that up to $75 for the point. Wyoming's deadline is January 31st. You find out by the end of February and you get your money back, posted back to your credit card right away if you didn't draw in Wyoming. And if you go watch our video about how the Wyoming system works, you know that 25% of Wyoming's tags go into a random draw. So even if you're new to this system and you say, well, I'm not going to have a good chance in Wyoming because I don't have a lot of points, guess what? 25% of the tags, you have as good a chance as anybody else. So my idea is Wyoming has some really, really good units. It comes early in the application season. Apply in Wyoming. The price, it's going up. I think that new legislation has the price going up to $690 for a non-resident elk tag. If you apply in Wyoming, you might draw one of those lucky tags in the 25% random draw. But if you don't, you're gonna have your money back. And you're gonna have a point for the next year. And you keep doing that, and pretty soon, maybe you've built 4, 5, 6 points. There's some darn good elk hunts in Wyoming that you can get with 3, 4, 5, 6 points. So that's part of this longer term strategy. And when you're doing this longer term strategy, you're building points as the long term part of it. You're taking your chances that maybe you're gonna draw in the interim in the random draw. And you get your money back in time to take advantage of my next, what I call long-term strategy. So now that you've got your money back from Wyoming, you've got this late March deadline this year. It's March 22nd for New Mexico. Apply there. Put in 3 choices. You're gonna have to buy the $65 hunting license, but look closely. There's a box you can check there that says, if I do not draw, please refund my $65 hunting license fee. So you're gonna get they make you pay up front, and This year, the high demand tag is $773. If you apply for a low demand tag, it's $548. So $773 gets hit on your credit card plus a $65 license fee. If you don't draw, you're getting that back minus whatever small application fee they charge you. That's great opportunity. Yeah, it's a bit of the roll of the dice, both in the random draw in Wyoming and in the New Mexico draw. But you keep applying and doing this year over year over year, sooner or later, your lucky number is going to come up one of these times. So the two really high demand hunts that you've applied for or states you've applied for in Wyoming and New Mexico, when your number comes up, cool. So now let's assume that you didn't draw in Wyoming, so you did New Mexico. You didn't draw New Mexico, and you find that out sometime in May, sometime in late April, early May. And by that time, you've pretty much missed the deadlines for the other states. So now you're looking at, what are my over-the-counter general tag options, or are there any leftover options? And I'm going to start with Colorado. Colorado has 90-some units that are over-the-counter rifle tags for the second and third rifle season. And if you go and look at Colorado also, so many of their archery units are over-the-counter for archery. So whether you're an archery hunter or a rifle hunter, you can go to Colorado by just buying your tag online, or you can show up and buy it from a vendor, one of the licensed vendors. If you show up once season's already open, you have to buy it from a Department of Parks and Wildlife office. So I just buy mine online. Colorado, by the time you pay for your tag and all your other stuff, you're in it for about $650. Tons of places to hunt. Most of these over-the-counter units in Colorado are public land. So then let's look at Idaho. Idaho has a quota for certain regions in their state for non-residents. They never sell out. They just about every year you can go to Idaho and you can find just all kinds of options. If you think that Idaho is going to be your over-the-counter option, I would suggest that you say, I'm gonna have to buy my non-resident license because I'm coming hunting in Idaho. Well, you already spent $155 for that Idaho hunting license, and then you're gonna have to buy an elk tag. Here's what I'd do. I'd buy that $155 license, and since I've now got my New Mexico money back refunded, maybe I'll apply in what Idaho calls controlled hunts. They're a limited entry drawing, and 10% of their tags, up to 10% of their tags, will go to non-residents. Cool. You never know if you're going to draw, and if you don't draw, you're going to go buy one of their over-the-counter general elk tags, and you can go elk hunting. And then, if you decide Idaho's not the place you want to go, you still have another option. At least for the last few years, it's been an option. Montana has had leftover general elk tags for the last 5 years. What it'll be in 2017 or 18, I don't know. The drawing in Montana is March 15th, and every year we have fewer and fewer leftover general elk tags. Last year we had just over 1,000. One year we had almost 2,000. And when those come out and they're left over, they go on sale usually the second week of May. You can go and you can buy a Montana leftover general elk tag. Yeah, you don't get to hunt the limited entry units, but most of Montana is a general unit state. So if you saw the number of really nice bulls in Montana that get shot on general elk tags, you would realize that, wow, that's a really good option. And the beauty of Montana is, yeah, the price is a little more. The elk only tag in Montana, by the time you buy all of your stuff, it's getting up there. It's going to be about $900 for the elk tag. You get a fishing license, you get a whole bunch of other stuff along with it. Upland bird, all kinds of things come with it. And here's the beauty of Montana that you don't get in the other states. You can come for the 6-week archery season, and if you don't fill your tag, you can come back for the 5-week general rifle season. That's a lot of opportunity. Some people say, well, I only get 1 trip a year. I understand that. Come, make the most of it. But the point of this is, even if you're new to the system, there are plenty of places where you could be elk hunting this year. And if you think about it, you can come up with this strategy that I've given you here, and you can make the most out of your money you're investing in this process. Now, if your budget's more than $1,000 and you say, look, I want to accumulate points in other states. I want to have a long-term strategy in many places, not just Wyoming. Okay, the very first state I'd add to the list would be Arizona. Arizona has a non-refundable, non-resident license, and you can just buy a point. You don't even have to apply and send them all the tag money. You just buy a point every year, and you watch the draw odds and say, you know, I think I got pretty good odds this year. I'm going to jump in Arizona. When you get to Nevada and Utah, you have to buy non-refundable licenses. And as far as elk goes, it is so hard to draw in those states. As non-residents, and the number of people ahead of you, it's hard for me to justify telling people build points for elk only in those states. If you want to build points for deer and antelope and other species in those states, and you're already buying the non-resident license, I get it. Throw elk in as part of it. You'd be crazy not to. So those other 3 states have great elk hunting. Of them, I'd say Arizona is your best option for that next step of building points at a reasonable price and having a reasonable expectation that sometime in the next 6 to 10 years, you're going to be hunting elk there. If you have a $1,000 budget for tags and licenses and application, you can do everything I just mentioned. And if you don't luck out and draw in Wyoming or draw in New Mexico, you still can go elk hunting this year. Thanks for watching.